Shalom. All praise to Yahweh Hashem Yahshai, Bashem Rakakadash. Double honors to your apostles and elders, great mills that rule well, and shalom to all the brothers doing the work in sharing truth. Yeah. So more news on, the situation in the Middle East, which, you've had escalating and building up recently. So this is on US news. This is what Iraqi airbase housing US troops attacked by rockets. Iran militia believed involved. This is what the provocative strike comes as the Pentagon believed it had restored deterrence with Tehran following last week's retaliatory strike on pro-Iran forces in Syria. This is what a sprawling airbase in Iraq that serves as one of the most consequential hubs for the US-led military presence there came under attack Wednesday morning by 10 rockets, local officials said. The perpetrator was not immediately clear, and Iraqi authorities were still conducting an investigation as of Wednesday morning, However, Iraqi officials issued carefully crafted statements shortly afterwards that indicate they believe Iran was behind the attack. So you've had a few things pop off, because you had the strikes that fuck is this guy Biden pushed through. Really he got his marching orders, and these things are getting pushed out. So it's like they airstruck Syria, Iranian targets in Syria, and this is a backlash for that. So it's once again in that kind of escalation cycle which you see has happened, and we'll kind of wait and see where it goes, because okay, so this is what Pentagon spokesman John Kirby in a statement said one US civilian contractor had a heart attack while sheltering during the strike and later died. So you had a guy die from fear, man. His heart failed him from fear, which, that's in the scriptures. You're going to have, men being as women, man. You're going to have the men fainting. Why? Because it's going to be it's going to be madness. It's going to be a mess. Man are gonna, it's what's going to be going down in that time of trouble. It's not going to be light. That's why it says what basically the Lord for his men, for his elect, they're going to be tried like fire, tried like gold in the fire, man. Where you using that intense heat, you work out them impurities. So that means that intense heat, that's them situations, them circumstances brothers are gonna have to go through, man. So it's fucked, because man are catching hell now, but then that time of Jacob's trouble, when Esau's coming out in full force, enforcing that mark, then it's gonna be even more harsh. But what this guy's heart gave up just from what 10 rockets, they said 10 rockets got shot at the base, and it wasn't even like I'm assuming he wasn't actually in danger. He said he sheltered inside. Yeah, sheltering during the strike. So you got to shelter, but he was just there. Man had a heart attack just from the shock of the whole or what? Or is that out of shape, or who knows? But it's like, hey, the Lord had it where he dropped dead, and that's indicative of what's gonna go down. You're gonna have a lot of people. Shit's gonna go down. They're just gonna freeze up, man. Okay. So what? No uniformed U.S. troops were injured, Kirby said. The U.S. cannot attribute responsibility for the attack, he said, deferring to the Iraqi investigation. But that's just footage. That's not actually the strikes. Okay, so it says the provocative attack comes at a time of escalating tensions between Tehran and Washington, following a U.S. airstrike on a Syrian position last week. Last week, huh? Oh, on a Syrian position last week housing pro-Iranian militia. The retaliatory strike, which American officials say they hope has restored deterrence with Iran, was in response to a string of attacks by Iranian militia in Iraq against a series of U.S. installations there. So yeah, there was meant to have been, they said they shot like 3 or 4 rockets or something at some bases on Iran. In the bases in Iran, that's meant to be what justified them strikes. But that sounds like some BS, man. Because that shit really came from nowhere. Or they might just be saying like, oh, talking about something that happened months back. We're like, okay, yeah, now just arbitrarily we're gonna retaliate. But it's stirring up in times, building up towards prophecy, man. More building up for the sake of prophecy. It says what Wednesday's rocket attack risks further spikes in violence at a time the Biden administration is desperately attempting to coerce Iran to return to diplomatic negotiations. It comes as the U.S. is attempting to broker diplomacy in the region, and as Pope Francis is planning to visit Iraq later this week. Fucking it, it's planning to visit Iraq. What the fuck? Well, something happens to him, then it's justification for an escalation. So what? Spokesman Army Colonel Wayne Moroto tweeted early Wednesday that 10 indirect fire rockets had struck Al Assad Air Base in central Iraq, roughly 150 miles northwest of Baghdad. It houses troops in the US-led coalition combating the Islamic State group and other extremists in Iraq and Syria. Indirect fire refers to the common method of attack by insurgent forces in American war zones in the Middle East, involving projectiles often activated remotely and lobbed at targets rather than fired directly at them, making it more difficult to identify the perpetrators immediately and defending against them. Someone just dashing explosives and blowing it up. Kind of wild. But yeah, further escalation. Because why? Because it's that time. And it's peace is that's not a thing that has existed whilst Esau's been in rule, first off. And secondly, it's that's you're calling it peace, but your government's going around blowing up. These elites are basically signing off and just going around and blowing up all kinds of shit, man. Hospitals, schools, blowing up every Tom, Dick, and Harry for their gain, man. But these things are gonna culminate, man. Because why? Because everyone's gonna be looking at America, and it's all all the lies, all the deception is gonna be revealed, man. So everyone's gonna be like, yo, is this the man? Just gonna be like, wait, wasn't this guy talking the utmost grease? But now he's a nobody. Joel 3 and 2, I will gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, and will plead with them for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. Yeah, so Esau, there's no way by which he's going to be able to escape this, his judgment. And as well, on top of that, it's war is going to be gathered, it's going to be built up. and you're gonna have um, everyone's gonna turn on the US, man. Everyone's gonna turn on the States. Everyone's got America's tab. It's there's crimes against these guys all over the globe, man. Esau's gonna get his, man. Says what will plead with them for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land, and they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot and sold their girl for wine, that they might drink. Yea. And what have ye to do with me, O Tyrians, I had done, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? Yeah. So there's this is a big part of why America's gonna get put on smash. America's gonna get absolutely blazed. Right, all America's allies are gonna be shooting their missiles on them. Because why? Um. Because. Okay, yeah. Because you have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temples my goodly pleasant things. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that you might remove them far from their border. Behold, I will raise them out of the place where you have sold them, and I will turn your recompense upon your own head. Yeah, so where Jake was sold the states, gonna receive salvation. America's gonna be destroyed, and then what? They're gonna get that revenge. It says, "I will sell your sons and daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people, to a people far off. For Yahweh have spoken it. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up." Yeah, all these, nations can be sending in, their militaries into, into that Middle East situation, man. And that's how you're gonna have these things escalate into that conflict, man. Which, these things are happening in the background, behind, you know, on the level of like where it's spies engaging against each other, or proxy states, or proxy groups. But you're gonna have that raw, gritty, like going back to World War II. The Second World is past. The Third World comes quickly during the time of that Second World. Or you just had men out in the field with rifles looking to annihilate each other, man, on a mass scale. So this is what proclaiming this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let the men of war draw near, let them come up. Be your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen. And gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh. Let the heathen be wakened, and come up to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Yeah, so that valley of Yahweh Shaphat, all these nations can be gathered in judgment, because they're all going to be destroying each other. But it's all for Israel. It's for that recompense for Israel. That's why all the nations are going to go into that bondage, man. Not just Esau. Esau's going to go into bondage and get annihilated after. But these other heathen as well, these guys are also going to get judged. That's what you see building up, man. That World War 3 popping off. It's that time, man. Yeah, leave it there. Shalom. Yahweh Shem Yeshua, Shem Rakakta, Shpakta. Shalom.